Wanted to speak today about a concept that's fundamental in Chassidus. There's many different aspects of it to speak, but I'd rather just try to discuss as much as we could. The meaning of Geulah and Golus has many dimensions. The meaning of Golus and Geulah that has a dimension begashmis, that the Yidden are what the Gemara calls Shibud Malchias. The Yidden are suffering, and begashmis in many different levels. There's the Indian of Golus and Geulah al pi halacha, which is the Indian of Shleimus HaTorah VaMitzvah, that in time of Golus we're not able to fulfill the Torah mitzvahs in its complete form. Geulah is the time we'll be able to fulfill Torah mitzvahs in its most complete form. Then there's the Indian of Golus and Geulah al pi Chassidus, what it means by a person. Now obviously they're not a contradiction, all these three different things, but each one is, they're all connected, but each one is focusing on another dimension of it. So, the Indian of Golus and Geulah al pi Chassidus, I would really break down into two main aspects. There's one aspect which is discussed a lot in my modern throughout Chassidus, and there's one aspect which is more that the Rebbe speaks about, the Rebbe focuses on more, which is maybe a little bit deeper, a little bit more fundamental. You have many Maimorim speaks about the Indian of Golus. It's connected with Golus HaShechina. What's the idea of Golus HaShechina? The idea of Golus HaShechina is a concept which is spoken about in the Chazal, in a number of places, and it has many, many different explanations what it means, what Golus HaShechina means. But on a basic level, it means that godliness is concealed. Golus HaShechina means that when the Eibishter is revealed in the world, so then the Eibishter is what's running the world. Godliness is what's running the world. The world is nullified. The world has to, the world is fulfills what the Eibishter wants. When godliness is concealed, so it seems as if the world runs its own course, and godliness is not the one that's running the show. Obviously, in truth, the Eibishter is always running the show, but that's the idea of Golus. It's concealed, you don't see it. So Chassidus and Kabbalah is full with the concept of Golus HaShechina. The creation of Klippas is in of Golus HaShechina. When a person does an Aveda, he adds Chais and Klippas in of Golus HaShechina. Golus HaShechina is a concept that it comes out, and which, it's a basic idea is the same, but it's expressed in many different levels and angles. But the point here that I want to focus upon is Pasha at a very simple level in the basis of Chassidus, the godliness is concealed. So the Helam Bahesa is the Golus HaShechina. What's the meaning of Geulah? Geulah means the godliness is revealed. Now Chassidus speaks a lot about the Indian of the difference of the Zman HaBayis and the Zman HaGolus. If you look at many of my Maimorim in Chassidus, you have, if you want a nice compilation of it, as you have in the Sefer Migdolah L'Geulah, it's translated from Exile to Redemption. They have a whole chapter, I think, discussing this. It's a very nice compilation of various, short, brief excerpts from various different Maimorim, giving different points about it. But the point is that in the time Chassidus Salat speaks about the fact that in the time of the Beis HaMikdash, godliness was revealed. The Yidden went up to the Beis HaMikdash, they saw godliness. It were 10 miracles that took place in the Beis HaMikdash on a daily way or an annual level, whatever it was, but it was 10 set miracles that happened. When a Jew went to the Beis HaMikdash, he sensed godliness, he saw whatever we could understand it means, and that affected the whole world. So at that time, for a Yid to serve the Eibishter was much less of an nisayon. You had, unfortunately, B'Mtzias, it was a little different. You had people who served Avodah Zarah, but that wasn't because it says that, I don't want to get into the discussion, in the time of the first Beis HaMikdash, if you wanted to serve the Eibishter, godliness was revealed. The word of David Avodah Zarah said, we don't want the Eibishter, we want Avodah Zarah, but if they wanted to, it wasn't as if godliness itself was concealed. Alakus was revealed. Elamai, they decided that they want to choose another path. In the time of later on, in the time of Golus, it's pashat hard. The person has to work hard on himself to be able to feel something. Those days, if somebody wanted to, he was able to. The part was whether they wanted to or not. But that's a separate discussion. So in the times of the Beis HaMikdash, godliness was revealed. And the first Beis HaMikdash was on a higher level than the second Beis HaMikdash also, but fine. But in general, in the time of the Beis HaMikdash, godliness was revealed. As a result, a Yid was able to serve the Eibusher. Now, the same way it was in the world, godliness was revealed. The same thing was also in the person's nefesh. And every person is a nefesh elokis, a nefesh Bahamas. So in the times of the Beis HaMikdash, in the time of the Beis HaMikdash, in the time when there wasn't, before the Zman HaGolus, so there, the nefesh elokis of a person was revealed, was much more easier to access. And the nefesh Bahamas was much easier to control. The bittul Chassidus discusses, we say in Musaf, Ve'en lanu we can't go up, and we can't see, and we can't bow down in front of you. So the fact that we can't go up and see the Eibishter, okay, so it goes, we can't bow down. You can go down on the floor like you do Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, you do Kaidim. We can't bow down in front of you. Chassidus explains, we're not talking about the physical exercise of bowing down. We're talking about the deeper meaning of bowing down. Bowing down means that a person reaches such a level of nullification that the Eibishter, that the head and the foot become equal. It's a type of nullification that permeates the person entirely from head to toe. That type of bittul of nullification can only be experienced when you're able to go up and see the Eibishter. So now you're able to do, You're not allowed to bow down. I mean, there's different halachas when, you have an halacha. Good, but I'm saying, I'm not discussing the halacha. I'm saying when we say, the pashas means we can't go up to the Beis HaMikdash and bow down l'fanech over there. But the Indian is that it's not just about bowing down physically. So when you don't see the Eibishter, so what Chassidus says is kriya, there's kneeling, there's a external way of bowing down. But the true idea of bowing down means complete bittul, complete nullification. That you can only have when you see Getlichkeit, when you're able to perceive godliness, you're able to have that experience, that level of bittul. So in the time of Golus, we don't have that. We have Kabbalah soil, which is, you do it even though we don't want to do it, which in a certain element is even greater than the type of bittul that they had in the time of the Beis HaMikdash. That's a separate discussion. But the person should be completely permeated with true bittul that we don't, at least most people, are not able to have. So the same way in the world at large, godliness was revealed, so in the person's nefesh, the ability for the nefesh elokis to be revealed is much more accessible. And then, so the nekuda hatichoina, the point that where both things connect is that when there's a golus in alakus, the godliness is concealed, and the person's nefesh elokis is in golus, in his own nefesh Bahamas, his godly soul is in exile, in his animal soul, so that causes the golus begashmius. That causes a physical exile when the Yidden are which what Chassidus speaks about, the golus hashchina, the fact that in time of exile, godliness is concealed. Godliness, so to say, is the Eibishter gives chayis, gives the energy to Yidden through, not directly, but through the malachim, the different malachim that are in charge of the nations of the world, the different mazalos, constellations, whatever it is. And in that setting, the goyim have the ability to power to subjugate the Jewish people. So Chassidus speaks a lot the difference of when, in other words, that Golus is the time that godliness is concealed compared to the Zman HaBayis, and the Geulah is the time that godliness will be revealed. So when godliness is revealed, then, or in the nefesh of a person, in the soul of a person, the nefesh elokis, the godly soul is more revealed. So automatically, you make effects in the world that, that the Jewish people are not subject to exile, they're connected with the Eibush, their connection to the Eibush gets revealed. So Begashmi say also they're the ones that are on top. They're not subjugated to other people's enslavement and so on and so forth. So that's what Chassidus speaks a lot in many, many places. The Rebbe, I would say, added a little bit of a deeper dimension to this. Whatever, maybe taking the liberty of saying this, but I think if you could put it this way, the Rebbe explained that the meaning of Golus is a little bit more fundamental than just the difference between the time of the Beis HaMikdash and the time of Golus. The Rebbe explains that the etzem creation of the world is already a Golus. Why is the creation of the world by default already a level of Golus, of exile? Because in order to create the world, Eibush had to conceal his light. Chassidus explains that the idea of the Tzimtzum Marishin, the great whatever, we don't want to get into all the different levels and discussions, but in order for the world to be created, the Eibush had to conceal his light. So the Chassidus explained that Tzimtzum Rishon is the shadish for all chatoim, essentially. All sin comes from this concealment. So even in the times of the first Beis HaMikdash, the Dvar Hashem, the words of Hashem that were in the creation, in the Beis HaMikdash you felt godliness. But if you walked around the streets in Japan, in America, wherever it is, whatever they had, the streets, they didn't have streets. But this, and there's just, Yisrael Zeni Hashem Alekacha, I wouldn't say that. But in other words, you walked around, did you see the godliness in creation? I don't know, not necessarily. So there was godliness in the world. But in other words, the essential inherent godliness that's in creation was hidden. It's the way the world was created. Is that is not only that the higher levels of godliness were concealed, but even the basic level of godliness that's within creation, the Koach HaPoel B'Nifel, is concealed. So what does Geulah mean? So over here, I may, again, this is just my understanding. I'm just discussing it. If anyone is could disagree, whatever. I'm just discussing the way it appears to me. Is that, in other words, when the Geulah, the redemption through Moshiach, is not just a matter of revealing godliness in the world, similarly to the way it was in the first place, or even greater. The way the Rebbe explained is a Sicha Shabbos Parshas Chukas Tav Shemam Ches. I spoke about it here once before. It's a very fundamental Sicha. The Rebbe explains the concept of the true and complete redemption. The idea of Geulah means that in every single created being is recognized the fact that he comes from the Eibishter. The Rebbe says, we use the term a true and complete redemption. What means a true and complete redemption? If there's one thing in the world that its connection to the Eibishter is not revealed, so you can't say that it's a true, you can't say that even the 99% of things in the world where their connection to the Eibishter is revealed is a true redemption. Why? Because if there's one thing in the world that seems to be different than godliness, means that some existence outside of godliness. That is a contradiction to the concept, to the idea of Ein Od Milvado. There's nothing else besides godliness. So the true redemption means that in every single being in the world is revealed this connection with godliness. This is something, not just that there's a revelation of godliness in the world in general, like the first Beis HaMikdash, where the spirit rules the matter, with things like that. Here we're talking about that within the physical matter itself, we see clearly in every single dimension of it its connection with Elokus. So in a certain sense, the Rebbe's explanation, I think, is a little bit maybe more basic, but a little bit more fundamental than maybe the classic discussion of Zman HaBayis, the Zman HaGolus, the time of Golus, which is the time of the Beis HaMikdash that you find discussed in many places in Chassidus. I think the Rebbe goes a little bit more basic, discussing B'chlal, from the creation of the world until Moshiach, there's always a Golus. Even in the times of the first Beis HaMikdash, I remember correctly, I think there's even clearly a Sicha I saw this, that even in the time of the first Beis HaMikdash, there was still a level of Golus in the world. There was still a level of exile by the mere fact that the physicality of the world, you didn't see clearly its connection with godliness. You didn't see that godliness that's creating it. So, good. Now, what does this mean? The Rebbe also spoke about this concept in the famous Sichas in the summer of Tavshin Nun Aleph of, 1991, Shabbosim of Emir, Achre Meis Kedeshim Emir. The Rebbe spoke then, brings about Golus and Geulah, about the idea that the word Geulah, redemption, is made of the word Geulah, which means exile. Just you add an aleph to it. So the Rebbe explained that the idea of redemption is you take everything that's in exile and you reveal the aleph represents Hashem, the Eibishter, Alufei Shalolim. The Eibishter is called the aleph, the ruler, whatever, of the world. So the Rebbe spoke that there's different levels in aleph also, which I don't want to get involved, get lost with all different dimensions here. But the first basic level is that you reveal within the world the Koach HaPoel B'Nifel, the godly energy that creates it. So that is taking every single, not that you're bringing something new into the world, you're taking every single aspect that's there, and you are revealing its connection with the Eibishter. So that is a very, that's just just understanding of what Golus and Geulah means in the terms of Chassidus. Now, what it means in the terms of a person's, when you understand that understanding of Golus and Geulah, it's much easier to relate the concept of Golus and Geulah to a person himself. Sometimes when you speak about the need for Moshiach, or what the Geulah means, so it's hard for people to relate to it. For most people, Geulah is a medium to get rid of tzaras. So unfortunately, it's a felt nicht kein tzaras in the world. Plenty of people have tzaras, but there are people that don't have tzaras, people that say, what do I need Moshiach for? I have a good job, my family is healthy, There are people that have this question. I won't say there's one answer fits all. There's a number of approaches you could give based on where the person is coming from. So one approach people will say is like what you call going global. You say, you might not be suffering. Look how many people in the world are suffering. Whatever, most people doesn't speak to. But there's a concept of understanding that as long as Moshiach is not here, a person is in Golus. Why is he in Golus? Because his real Metzias of who he really is not being expressed. Because Simon Jacobson was putting it in this way. I was speaking to him about this a few weeks ago. He said that every person has what his tafkid is in this world, what his mission is in this world. If a person never, most people don't even think about this. Who are they? Right? They have a business, they have this. What they're meant to do, who they really are, doesn't necessarily even register by them. So the way I would put it is I would put it like this. What is Taij Golus? What means a person is in Golus? There's two ways of understanding this. These are my own Mishalom. Let's say a person is in prison. You understand why it's called an exile. Why? Because he's inhibited. He can't move, can't express himself, he can't do what he wants. That's one of this. The Rebbe speaks in that Sikha. The Rebbe brings this word in the Chukas Memches. So a person that can't express his real, true self is in Golus. So when a person has, every person struggles, or most people, they have what they really want to do, they really want to accomplish in the world, or goals that they have that they think are beyond their capability of reaching, but deep down they want. So as long as a person can't reach that, that's a Golus. He's not being able, his neshama, his soul, his true desires, not being able to be expressed. He's, for whatever reason, he has this, all physical, things in the world don't allow him to express it, but that's an exile. It's a very deep exile. It's that his self, his desires, let's say a person, he can't control himself, he's addicted to something, the point is that a person, there's a certain idea that a person, his true desires is concealed as an exile. But then there's this is my own 2 cents, I would add maybe something which a little more subtle, but when a person is not fulfilling his true, Moshiach, just personally my Zayda, Rabbi David Groner was sent on Shlichus to Melbourne. But the Rebbe was pushing him for a number of years. For a few years he worked here in Crown Heights under the Rashag, Rabbi Garari, for the local yeshiva Temple Timon. He went around to collect money, to do different, whatever it was he was doing. He was check up on how the yeshivas are doing. So when they finally moved to, the Rebbe pushed him for a number of years to go, and then he moved to Melbourne, and the Rebbe said originally it was for only a few years, and then they could decide they could go back. And my Bobby wrote a letter to the Rebbe. The Rebbe answered a very famous letter. The Rebbe wrote back to her. And my Bobby, basically, one of the things she said is that my Zaidi was already doing shlichus even before he was in Melbourne. Why can't he just come back here and do what he was doing here? So the Rebbe gave the analogy, the difference between a clerk and an executive. Somebody that has a 9-to-5 job, he works in someone else's institution. He's an employee. Let's say there's a store, a business, and he has a job. So he does his hours. When when the job is over, he goes home. He doesn't lose sleep over if the business is not going well. It's not his headache. He did his thing and went to sleep. An executive, or the one that it's his business, by him, it's not just a 9-to-5. By him, the whole time he's worried about it, and he's the one that has to try to fix it. So from one hand, he has more agmas nefesh, he has more heartache, because it's all upon him. On the other hand, he's able to accomplish much more. He's not just that he doesn't punch in 9 and punch out 5. His gratification is a much bigger scale. So in other words, what the Rebbe was saying is that compared to the capabilities my Zayda had, for him to use that as capabilities, as just doing what he was doing until then, was nice, but it didn't come close to what he was able to do when he was in the position now. So in a similar sense, if a person has the capabilities to do more than he's doing, so he might be doing something, and he might learning Torah, doing mitzvahs, but he's not able to do it the way it's supposed to be, so he's not using. It's also a galus. He's not being able to express who is his true neshama, what he's really meant to do, what he's able to do, and how much more so a person doesn't even realize what he's able to accomplish. So and when a person thinks about Golus and Geulah in the person's own nefesh, and this idea that Chassidus speaks about, or this at least way the Rebbe explains, the idea of Golus and Geulah in the world reflects very in a very relatable way, in a very practical way, to how a person looks at himself. So this is the meaning of Golus and Geulah. There's a standard in of Golus and Geulah. There's another few points to discuss. In that same Sikha, the Rebbe says another point. The Rebbe says that even though that Geulah usually explained as liberation, means before you were in exile, and now you're being liberated, you're able to express yourself, like all the things I was explaining before. The Rebbe said the truth is, there's another dimension here also, which is the Indian that the Rebbe says that the Indian of Geulah, redemption, is a Chiddush. It's a new type of existence compared to Golus, compared to exile. So, in other words, it's not just about revealing what was hidden or concealed before. It's also about going to a higher, totally new level. And this Rebbe also, this concept Rebbe spoke about in Tafshin on Aleph, and the Rebbe's been touched upon it, I think, a few times, that there's the union of Geulah redemption as it is related to exile, to take a Yid out of exile. So there we understand what the purpose and the need for redemption is. But then there's a higher inyan in Moshiach, there's a higher inyan in Geulah, which is not just to make a person fulfill his potential that he already has, or to make everything in the world reveal that connection that he already has with godliness, but to be poyel chiddush, to create something new, a higher level of connection with the Eibishter. So this is the Rebbe's talk in on Aleph. It's more connected maybe with the second period of Moshiach, which is when things move on to a higher new level. But that's also part of Geulah. It's not what I'm just trying to highlight. Geulah is not just about revealing what's hidden. That's the first step. There's a higher step to it as well. But nevertheless, it's both aspects are not in contradiction one to another. One leads to the next. First is the meaning of revealing what you have, and then you go to a higher level. There's another aspect I wanted to speak, another nakud I wanted to speak about, the meaning of Geulah, not so much connected with what I said before. It might even sound a little bit contradictory, but fine. There's two sikhs that I've seen. The Rebbe speaks about what Geulah, redemption, means in the avoid of a person. And these sikhs are not standard Moshiach sikhs. These sikhs are actually Elul sikhs. The Rebbe spoke about in the Elul Tavshim Mem Ches and Tavshim Mem Tes. The month of Elul has a number. We know there's a number of Rashi Tevis. The word Elul, Aleph Lamed, Vav Lamed, is an acronym for a number of different things. Zani L'Doi Dividoi Dili, whatever, all the different things. But there's 5 Rashi Tevis acronyms that the Rebbe mentioned. There's many. If you look, other Svarim have many more, but these were the 5 that the Rebbe always quoted. So you have Ani L'Doi Dividoi Dili. You have Inu L'Reyehu. There's the Nin of Torah. There's the Nin of Tzedakah. The Nin of Tefillah. The Nin of Tshuva, and the Nin of Geulah. You have a Slavavcha Veslavav. The Eibusher circumcise your heart. There's the Nin of Tshuva, and then Ashir al Hashem Yemru Leimur from Moshiach. There's the Nin of Geulah. So the Rebbe spoke about what is the difference between. There's basically 3 Rashi Tevis acronyms of which is Torah, Tefillah, and Tzedakah. Torah, prayer, and giving Tzedakah, doing mitzvahs. And then above that is Tshuva, repentance, and then there's Geulah, redemption. So what is the difference between them? So the Rebbe spoke a very deep point. The Rebbe said, first 3 we understand. When the Yid serves the Eibishter, so Yid serves the Eibishter in a way of Kabbalah soil. He accepts the Eibishter's yoke and he does what the Eibishter wants of him. So he learns Torah, he davens, does mitzvahs. On a deeper level, is not only he does what the Eibishter wants, but he also does it in a way of tshuva. Tshuva, the Rebbe says, is the inyan that he has desire, he has simcha. But the Rebbe adds a very powerful word. The Rebbe says, as long as you are a Metzias, separate from the Eibishter, it's not called Geulah. As long as it could be someone serving the Eibishter, complete nullified. The Rebbe gives her in another sikh. The Rebbe says, you could have a nation that's totally nullified to their king, but at least, but they're a nation and there's a king. It's 2 separate entities. As long as they don't merge as one, the nation is still in exile. The people are sitting, and what are they in exile here? They're in their own Metzias. They're in exile because they're in their own existence and not one with the existence of the Eibishter. So the Rebbe spoke to it that the meaning of Geulah is that a Yid he gets liberated from his existence and he becomes one with Eibishter's existence. Now, for most people, it might turn them off because they say that I just spoke that the meaning of Geulah is that you're realizing your full potential. Here the Rebbe is saying that the Jews is not a contradiction. That's what it is. Right, the truth is that as long as a person is limited to his own self, he can't really express himself. The true idea of self. So the Rebbe actually speaks in Memtes. He speaks a very interesting thing. People say when Moshiach comes, we're going to become like robots. We're going to be zombies because there won't be any free choice. So first of all, I don't understand the question because there won't be any free choice. You won't have a Yetzer Hara. Until now, you want to do what's right, but you have something that's stopping you. That's pop-ups that are stopping you from doing what the Eibishter wants. Finally, you'll be free of them. Be able to do what you really want. Not try to become a robot. Don't forget, be able to do what you really want. But the Rebbe says there a deep word. The Rebbe says the idea of choice means that you're given two choices and you have to choose between them. So it's really not coming from you. You didn't create the choices and you didn't create the capability to choose between them. Bechira comes to Matzos and Dalam Ma'aser. The Rebbe speaks about it. The Rebbe says, true avoida b'koyach atzmai, the true that what's coming from you is in that level of the neshama that's completely higher than the whole ballpark of that the level of the neshama where nothing else exists besides the Eibishter. That's the true avodah b'koyach atzmai. That's when the Yid is serving the Eibishter truly from himself, from his essence. Because as long as there's different levels, there's a good and a bad, and you have to choose, it's you're already limited. It's not really coming from you. The true, you have to understand the word. The Rebbe says a very powerful word. The true bechira, true avodah b'koyach atzmai is dafka when Mashiach comes. Dafka when you don't have to choose between bad and good. And the is you should have the Geulah mitzvah shleima take it from Yad Mamish.